Hey there, I'm Marina Taylor.
And I'm Simon Fox. Welcome back to the Daily's Double Shot. We've got a great show lined up for you today.
First up, we'll take a look at Comic-Con from last weekend.
Then we'll learn about rugby at UW and its 50-year history.
We'll look into the interesting life of Mark Thomas, a man who teaches impromptu guitar on the Ave.
In Film Focus, David Crispin reviews 21 and Over, a film made right here on campus.
We get a recap of the Everybody, Everybody fashion show.
And last up, we'll talk about a gun forum called together by student groups on campus.
All this and more coming up
on the Daily's Double Shot.
Ooh, what is that?
Yeah.
I'll see you there. Okay. Well, we went to Comic-Con. Let's take a look at how it's changed in the past couple of years.
Roll it.
Each year, Emerald City Comicon fills the streets of Seattle with a little bit of strange and the convention center with thousands of attendees. And this year's event was no exception, with record attendance and completely selling out for the entire weekend. The vendor halls at Emerald City Comicon were completely packed, with a little bit of something for everybody, whether it's toys from your childhood or hidden comic book treasures, a little bit of mystery, and maybe an unexpected alliance. But of course, there were plenty of superheroes around to deal with that. Our first stop was at the booth for The Dreaming, located at 53rd and University Way, to speak with manager Corey Sober and see how this year's going.
This is my third year being here myself, and I have to say this has probably been the biggest turnout we've seen so far. It's beautiful.
Corey says that while comic books are the biggest seller at the store location, here at the convention, it's definitely merchandise from the TV series Doctor Who, where they've all but sold out of their last pieces. While unique merchandise and collectible memorabilia are definitely one of the largest attractions to the conventions, we can't forget that none of this would be here if it wasn't for the original creations of our favorite comic book characters. We didn't have to travel far to find what could be the next big thing. Based out of Seattle and making its debut here at Emerald City Comicon is Double Barrel, the story of two stoners who saved the world. We met with co-creator Patrick Self to find out more.
Our comic, Double Barrel, is about two stoners saving the world, and it kind of just spawned from us, me and my buddy, getting kind of wasted, and we'd always talk about funny things. I don't know, each one of the characters started to adapt kind of certain characteristics of our own, and we just started running with it. And we'd make jokes about this or that, or doing something that we thought would be funny, and eventually what we started doing was thinking of them in terms of scenes. It's been pretty damn positive. A lot of people, whether or not they're buying or talking to us, seem to like the premise of the comic, our little signs. Everybody likes to snicker when they walk by and they find out it's about two stoners saving the world. And a lot of people tapping someone on the shoulder that they're walking with and sharing a laugh about it. And then actually, the amount of issue sales has been pretty good. It's been exciting. I kind of didn't really know what to expect. It's just kind of about bringing this to the public light.
Another local startup, Geek Chic, out of Everett, Washington, has seen tremendous growth over the past few years, selling everything from mustaches to wands and weapons. Their main focus is their deluxe gaming tables. Designed for gamers who have grown up, the demand for these tables is so high that orders are backed up for at least 6 months. Dining room tables can be quickly transformed into fully functioning game tables with no detail left unnoticed. With so many local businesses booming, the question is why? We spoke with Bryn Watson from Otherworlds to see what she had to say.
I think my generation is getting tired of the idea that adults should stop having fun. A lot of older people come into our store and they're kind of like, well, this will be fun for children. And then people our age come in and they're like, this is fun no matter what age you are. It doesn't matter.
So if you want to find a hero, large or small, your favorite video game character, or even internet meme, one thing's for certain. Emerald City Comicon has something for everybody and celebrates the child, in all of us.
That was pretty cool.
Up next, we'll learn about the university's rugby team and how it's lasted over 50 years as a student club.
UW football is a monolith. The yearly budget for our program is easily in the tens of millions, and the revenue that program generates exceeds its budget. UW football has existed since 1889, but is not the only sport at UW with history. In fact, UW's rugby team just celebrated its 50th anniversary. And what makes the program all the more remarkable is that it has never received funding from UW's athletic program. Running on a budget provided by rugby alums of just $20,000 a year, our rugby team is registered as an RSO and plays games across the country. Coach Kevin Swiryn explains some of the issues the team has had to face with its limited budget and status.
The biggest challenge probably just being able to get what you want when you want it, whether it's a field or if you want to have a recruiting session, you want to bring in high school kids, you can't get a field. The equipment is a huge thing. We have 12-year-old bags that we're hitting guys with, and so those are little issues, but people are facing that all over the country, and guys cope with it pretty well, and they're showing that on the field by how they're progressing.
One of the program's biggest goals is to see the recruitment process grow and step more in line with the recruiting process of some of UW's bigger sports programs.
If we can start to align ourselves with the school a little bit, and not necessarily funding, but perhaps just even with recruiting techniques, getting kids to be aware of what rugby can do for them at this school and what it can do for them in general, that changes a lot of things. So our goal is to bring in more and more rugby playing freshmen to UW and align ourselves with UW's recruiting goal as a university and institution.
And the rugby team does have opportunities to offer its players. Dan McTaggart, an alum present for the 50th year anniversary celebration, explains what the program did for him.
I still have friends from when I played here, and a lot of the guys that I played with were professional guys. There's lawyers and insurance guys and doctors and surgeons and all kinds of people. And I still see them all the time, and we get back together, and it's fun. You really end up with lifelong friendships out of this game. It's really physical, it's tough, but the kind of people that you meet and then the teammates that you meet, you keep for the rest of your life. And it's great that this club side is, like I say, no university money, and the club is carried on, and it's actually flourishing. It's looking very good right now.
I've had amazing experiences through playing, whether it's living in France for a few years, learning a second language, meeting hundreds of people from all over the world, visiting 20 countries in the last 5 years. That's what rugby's done for me, and I wish that we could kind of bring those opportunities to these kids here and to other kids in the United States. There's so much opportunity to travel with rugby, so without the alumni, we're not a club. I mean, we just don't, the school gives us $1,600 and we have, 8 away games. It doesn't add up. So we're happy to have that support, and we just hope that it can grow more and grow faster and grow better to give these kids even more of an opportunity.
Only time will tell what happens with rugby in the future.
Next, we'll learn about Mark Thomas, a guitarist who plays and teaches lessons on the Ave.
I started in May, last May. I was out of money, out of food, didn't have any prospects that day. It was a beautiful sunny day. I'd been working on some blues songs of my own for a couple of years, and I thought, hey, if this isn't motivation, what is? All the jobs I've had in the past were virtually customer service, and oftentimes they were jobs where the product or service that my company delivered was subpar. So my days of work were filled with negativity all day. People complaining, people angry, people cussing me out, But to be able to earn a little money, feeling joy, and according to what people tell me, spreading a little joy, it's fantastic, even above the paycheck.
A lot goes down on University Way for good and bad. Blues player Mark Thomas soaks in what he sees and adds his small part to the saga of everyday life.
It's like cinema so often when I play. It's unbelievable. It's like a big CinemaScope screen. It's wide. It goes both directions. It's tall. and amazing things happen. You know, I'll be playing, last summer I was playing, you know, Sunset. It was just a gorgeous sunset, like out of a film. And I was playing, I had my eyes closed, and I was playing a real slow, soulful blues and really feeling it. And I look up and there's a young couple dancing, just twirling around. They're nicely dressed. It's like, whoa, I open my eyes and I'm in a movie. You know, if I'm feeling really down, it might be something really kind of, and if I'm feeling really up, it might be, you know, so that's the main thing I'm learning. You take everything I feel, everything I see, everything I learn, and just let it all hang out, you know. It's good pressure for me to play under. You know, if I can play with the buses and the people and the sometimes drunk people coming up and, you know, wanting to play my guitar and stuff like that, you know, if I can play under those conditions, it's only going to strengthen me. A lot of people, you know, like lots of people will walk by and not even notice I'm playing, right? Sometimes that will get me down a little bit, but then for every 100 of those people, there'll be 2 or 3 people that will come up and really tell me something really deep, you know. Sometimes mothers, I'll be playing, I'm playing along with my eyes closed, I open my eyes and there's like 2 or 3 strollers circled in front of me, and it's babies in there. And the mothers will say that, hey, we were walking by here and our babies quit fussing when they heard your music, so we parked them here. And that's pretty cool. Here comes Sam, my blues student. You know, it's kind of like you give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, and you give him a fishing pole and you feed him for a lifetime. Well, rather than giving a man a song, I strive to give him the ability to create a song. When I was about 14 or 15, I went to my first concert, and it was Santana. You know, this was before Woodstock. But the opening act was Freddie King from Texas, blues man, and that's what did it. When I saw Freddie King perform live.
Make sure to listen for Mark's guitar next time you're walking down the Ave.
Speaking of the Ave, have you seen the movie 21 and Over? I'm pretty sure it was filmed on the Ave.
No, I haven't. But that was that film shot on campus, right?
Yeah.
David Chrisman has got a review in Film Focus.
Hello, I'm David Chrisman, and welcome to Film Focus. This week, we're taking a look at a film that's near and dear to at least our campus. Today, we're taking a look at a movie that was shot right here at the University of Washington, called 21 and Over. "21 and Over" follows high school friends Miller, Miles Teller, and Casey, Skylar Aston, as they reunite with their friend Jeff Chang, Justin John, to celebrate his 21st birthday. The problem is that Jeff's overbearing dad, played by Francois Chow, has scheduled a big med school interview for his son the next morning at 8 a.m. So, with the promise of only going out for one drink, Miller and Casey get Jeff to go out with them, with fairly predictable results. The film was written and directed by John Lucas and Scott Moore, the writers of The Hangover and its sequel, so that should give you some idea of what 21 and Over is like. It's definitely a comedy, and there's no question about that, even though it attempts to inject some drama as the film goes on. The movie has aspirations of talking about big ideas like freedom and growing up, the usual things that a college comedy would talk about, but it only touches on them in the most sophomoric ways. It also tries to talk a little about stereotypes, but it ends up at the very best canceling out the offensiveness about them. The acting is decent at least. All the leads and the love interest, played by Sarah Wright, are believable enough in their roles, though that may simply be because I haven't seen them in any other movies yet. Miles Teller manages to get Miller to straddle the line between being likable and blatantly offensive fairly well. Skylar Aston's Casey is also portrayed fairly well, but not much can be said about Justin Chon's acting ability, since he serves more as an semi-ambulatory plot device than a real character. For me, the best part of the acting was getting to see some local actors playing smaller parts and filling out the cast. The person who stands out most is Russell Hodgkinson, who plays probably the most memorable character in the entire film. Really though, the main draw to go to this movie, at least in our area, is that it was shot on the University of Washington Seattle campus. In fact, the first shot of the film is a wide shot of Red Square, clearly shot from the top of Suzzallo Library. I think with the exception of 1 or 2 outdoor shots and indoor scenes, everything in this movie was shot within 3 blocks of campus. And I must say, nothing shows off the way our campus looks better than being shot on high-quality equipment in the middle of summer. And since most of the film takes place at night, we get to see a lot of nice shots of various parts of campus lit up, such as the quad. One of my favorite things about 21 and Over was watching as the film cut between very distant areas of campus. While most people watching the film will have no idea that the characters are teleporting hundreds of yards in a single cut, it's quite amusing for those of us that live here. There's nothing quite like watching characters cross the street at 41st and suddenly be at 52nd. In the end, 21 and Over is nothing special. It's an average comedy done in the same style as The Hangover by the same guys. The story is predictably empty, even though it attempts to be a little bit better than what has come before it. The acting is good enough, and it's nice to see some local people in a movie that will probably get some decent exposure nationwide. Really though, the reason that most people want to see this is if they or someone they knew were an extra in it. 21 and Over is rated R and in theaters now. It's a fairly average comedy with local flavor, but I would wait until it's on DVD or Netflix, unless you want to see if you made the final cut of the film.
Well, in any case, it's still cool to see our campus up on the silver screen.
Up next, we get a preview of this year's annual Everybody, Everybody fashion show.
How do you define a beautiful body image? Is it a slim figure like one you would see in a glamour magazine? Well, the Everybody Everybody fashion show says, not necessarily. Held by ASUW entities including the Student Health Consortium, the Women's Action Commission, and Arts and Entertainment on Thursday, February the 28th. The Everybody Everybody fashion show invited everybody that has a positive feeling about his or her own body to walk on the runway no matter what the body size is. Coming to its 6th year, the Everybody Everybody fashion show expanded the conversation over the discourse of the body to include ethnicity, gender identity, and so on. Like always, the fashion show also featured local U District brands and UW student designers and models. We were able to speak to some student models about their participations in this year's fashion show.
So last year I was involved in UW Leaders and they were looking for people to do hair, and had already been too late for me to apply to the show, but I still wanted to be involved because I heard about the show, I heard about how they bring retailers in, and their message is really to love your body, love who you are, accept everything about you, and like don't hate yourself, that sort of thing. So I just wanted to be involved in any way I could. So last year I did hair for it, and then this year when fall rolled around, I saw it on Facebook and my friends were like, you should do it, you did the hair last year, but this year you should be a model. So I was like, yeah, I definitely want to do it. So that's how I kind of got involved.
Like Emma, Lauren Martin, another model at this year's show, was also motivated by the success that last year's show had and some really persuasive friends.
Well, I first heard about it last year. I was in the audience and it was such an uplifting night. I had such a blast. And then this year, some friends of mine had signed up to be models and they convinced me to do it with them. I was really shy, but we thought it was all going to be a great opportunity to participate in something that we found so uplifting the year before.
The fashion show really provides an ideal stage for anybody to show self-confidence on the runway and helps convey the positive message that you are beautiful.
I think the fashion show is really important to have on the UW community. I think it's really important to keep that message with students, to learn how to love your body and love yourself, and like flaws aren't imperfections, like those things aren't to degrade you, but they're to make you unique. So I think the show, brings together that community and to show that there's a support system and, there to encourage you about loving yourself.
This event matters to the UW community because it's so important to celebrate positive body image. Like everyone really is beautiful, and it's important to celebrate every body and everybody. And this event just does that in so many different mediums, from fashion to art to spoken word, and it's such a great celebration of all of the different talents and beautiful people in the UW community.
If you are interested in being a model for next year's fashion show, Emma's experience may familiarize you with the process of participating.
I applied through online, I did the application, I attended the model meetings. I also met with my retailer, Pattaya, probably 3 times before preparing. So I went in, talked to my retailer, we tried on different clothes, tried to choose something that spoke to my style but still got to showcase what things I wanted to showcase off during spring. So that was just kind of a few steps we did. Yeah.
We hope in next year's The Everybody Everybody Fashion Show, when you show your face there, you can say, last year's event was great. That's why I'm here today.
That's the kind of event that needs to happen every year.
Amen. 2 weeks ago, various student political organizations gathered around campus for a gun forum.
They discussed and debated over the place of guns and gun control in the United States and in the University of Washington.
Due to the recent tragedies in Newtown and Aurora, the issue of gun control has taken center stage in the public mind. On Wednesday, the 27th of February, a forum was held to discuss the topic by student political groups from around campus.
The Young Democrats and the College Republicans do have proper debates with our two clubs, but what we wanted to do with the forums a couple years ago was to expand it to the socialists and the libertarians on campus. And the idea is that it's less of a debate and more informational. The way we do forums is we start with an opening statement from each group, and then I think we do a rebuttal, and then most of the rest of it is just questions from the audience because we want it to be as audience friendly as possible. To the extent that we can bring that conversation down to a local level to people like me, like the people from my group and people from other groups, and actually talk about what we believe instead of just having talking heads on Fox News and MSNBC and excluding the libertarian voices and the socialist voices, and also the voices of, you know, anybody who might be just a regular person. I think to the extent that we can bring that conversation down to a personal level, that's really beneficial for our political process.
One might think the discussion would turn argumentative. However, the forum stayed cordial and informational throughout due to the mentality of the groups.
That you would expect the clash lines to go different directions, and in the past we've actually had socialists agree with libertarians and then Democrats agree with Republicans, and we form really interesting groups.
All of these individual groups allow students to come together and talk about their political views and develop their political views on an individual basis, but then when all four of these groups come together and have representatives come up and talk to each other about these issues and share different opinions, and we're allowed to have it in sort of a debate setting where we're allowed to share and talk about ideas, I think it just really opens up the channels of communication and allows different people to share their views, people from different backgrounds. I mean, typically the Young Democrats and the College Republicans don't come together and talk, but in this instance we have an opportunity to do so.
The Socialist Alternative and the Young Americans for Liberty, usually underrepresented in political discussions, found equal footing on Wednesday night.
For students to come here and hear the arguments from all four sides and be able to form their own rational decisions based on the arguments and premises presented to them. I think it's a very important thing for people not to be told what to believe, but basically to be able to come down, you know, see people hash out their arguments logically, and they get to go home deciding what they feel is the right thing. All the arguments proposed by the different groups were mostly factual. You know, we're able to have a logical and rational discussion instead of letting emotions get the better of us, because the truth is that this is a very emotionally charged debate to be had.
So I think a lot of students are interested in the issue, and rightly so.
The debate will rage on across the country, but democratic forums like these raise hope that an amalgamation of views can be reached.
Well, that's all we have for you today.
But make sure you tune in 2 weeks from now for our next episode.
We'll be recapping our favorite segments from the quarter.
In the meantime, you can check us out online at dailyuw.com/doubleshot.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time
on the Daily's Double Shot.